Hi, my name is Karen Holmes. I'm the founder and director of the World Peace Organization for the One World Government. There has been news out of South Africa that there's a new variant, and the World Health Organization is very concerned because the spikes, there's something like 30 different mutations of this variant that are very worrisome, because how are they going to come up with a vaccine that is going to stop this? Another peak is coming in South Africa, and it started in Botswana, Hong Kong, and in South Africa. So I was looking through if my theory is correct about viruses. My theory is that the virus, it's like we are very creative people. We share that with our Creator. We create by intent or by default, and when we react out of fear, we create we can create a virus. Now, it's not manufactured in a lab. This is something that, when you equate ideas like people and snakes, that is when the COVID-19 virus was manifested. Mankind has dominion over animals. So now, if my theory is right and this new variant is coming out, there's what do South Africa, Gauteng is where Johannesburg is. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Hong Kong is another place, and then Botswana. What do they have in common? And when I looked in Wikipedia, they all have gold in common. There's an issue related to gold. People are equating gold and snakes. So I'm not going to go into judging people about this. But because that kind of makes people want to cover things up. So how about if we come up with a better plan for the vaccines, instead of waiting for a vaccine to come out that is going to be always catching up, or idea of whack-a-mole, a variant comes up and you have to hit it on the head with a mallet. That doesn't really solve problems. A lot of people die. People die when they believe they can't get their life. So this corruption that's going on in Botswana, Hong Kong, and South Africa relating to gold, where people are equating other people with snakes, that's when we see this new variant coming about. But why would there be so many different variations of this variant? How many different mutations are there? That can be because it might be like people angry at different people in the government, people who are worried about different companies coming in, different laws that are being passed. So it's like people are going along with the idea that the power games, I've talked about this before, the power games seem to be working, and then they reach the point where they stop working, or people are going down into the games. So the whole idea that we're looking at is how to stop this, how to get ahead of the problem, and that is by working together to create this international government and we can solve a problem by turning it over to somebody else who can solve the problem better. So if we introduce this idea about how to solve this problem, where viruses come from and how mankind has dominion over animals, so they reflect humans. It's not that we get it from an animal, it's that we give it to animal, and then we see that it's reflecting back who we are. So the solution is to turn it over to an international government, help the departments of it solve this problem, set up a structure so that they can get ahead of it, and armed with this information that we have given them, and then allow them, the experts in the field, to go out and solve the problems, get ahead of it, and then advise the government, the international government, on what they believe is the cause of this. And then the international government can react by coming up with laws that are a solution to this crisis. Because everybody's working together, everybody's doing what's in everyone's best interest, basically. There's no real judgment on it. They're just doing what's in everyone's best interest. So we can solve our problems by just turning it over to the people who can solve the problems and know how to do it. And isn't that kind of where we are now? Today is Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving if you're an American. We're celebrating the coming over for the pilgrims who came over from England. Were leaving an oppressive government, an oppressive lifestyle. So they came over here and they started a new idea. But then they got together and they worked with the Native Americans, and they had their first feast. They were celebrating the fact that they had survived. And basically that was good. Now, it wasn't necessarily good for the Native Americans who were here, because the colonists, the pilgrims, brought diseases, and they brought problems and things like that. So it's always been a crisis in the family issue, so to speak. And then what happens is that you have to come up with a plan that solves it. Always dealing with glitches of everything. In fact, it becomes the point where nothing is new. It's just dealing with the glitches all the time. So that's the idea of a plan. And that's the idea of how to solve problems. If there's a new virus coming out, then the advisors, we have a crisis in the family situation. And then opposing that on the planning circle is the idea of coming up with a plan. The plan has to address the root cause of the problem, or it causes problems. So let's look in the United States, how the virus started in 2019, and then the immediate reaction was to bring in the experts on the field. People turn their lives over to the experts. And then the problem with it was first of all, waiting for a year or more for the virus or the vaccine to come out. And then there was, the vaccine didn't always work. Many people died. So we have to hunker down. We have to wear our masks. People were mad about the mask mandate and things like that. But if we can turn over this idea of the international government, come up with the root cause of the problem. If your plan doesn't address the root cause of the problem, it makes it worse. So now what we have is millions of people have died around the world. The economy has been trashed. We have ripples of effects that have gone out based on the economy, spending money coming up to solve this problem, and people were dying anyway. So in a way, let's say that the solution is always to look at what the root cause of the problem is, and then to come up with plans based on that. Sometimes the root cause of the problem. So basically the idea is to work with the people who have the solution. And the main problem right now is that people have solutions, but they just don't have a voice. And that's one of the situations where we have to stand up and defend our unalienable rights, because one of our rights is to have a voice in our government. We are the government. The people are the government. Every government represents the people, even though it doesn't seem like it, because even a king can be toppled. Even a king can be removed from office, and a different form of government can come up. Even the long-standing monarchies basically have had to transition out of an absolute king with absolute power, turn it over to a parliamentary system or whatever. So we are the people, the power. A government always represents the people, even though it doesn't, and then it's the power games that come about. So if there are people who, in the United States, for example, if there are people who are part of the corporations and the governments are turning it over to the corporations don't necessarily have the solutions. So it's the people who are solving the problems all the time. And then that's where the plan for world peace comes in, is that we're solving the problems and then turning them over to the experts, giving them like the missing links that explain how to solve it, and then the science and the religion basically come together and lean on each other instead of heading different directions. This unifies everybody. It's, let's say, do we need to have a solution that is dependent on a crutch, like a vaccine? Or is it, if we are creative, can we create a solution in our own thinking, solve the problems in our own thinking, and then come up with a plan that benefits everyone? That's what we're looking at right now, is can we stop wars? Can we stop hurricanes? Can we stop financial collapse? Can we stop death? Can we bring world peace? Are all these things possible? Yeah, they are. And basically, it's that people who know how to solve the problems just don't have a voice. It's too much of a threat. They come up with a solution. So if I come up with a solution for the pandemic and it's in everyone's best interest, the first thing is you run into problems with the people who are financially dependent for their security and their support on the existing structure. And it becomes like a dance that has to happen, that always happens. Okay? So a fly could go by here. All right. So it's a matter, the newest variant is a matter of equating people and the corruption and the such with gold. Now, if there's an economy that is based on stability and people being able to prosper, what happens when all the money shifts to the paying for the pandemic? People make money on coming up with a vaccine. Okay, is war something that's profitable for some people? How can they justify profiting on something where people die from that? You see, we're looking at universal law, we're looking at God's law. God stands on the 7 principles of equality, liberty, freedom, compassion, capacity, compassion, abundance, capacity, and tolerance. So anything that fits these seven principles, any plan that stands on all these principles and several other principles, okay, then that's basically the solution. It creates a sense of abundance. It creates a sense of compassion. It's solving problems, and people don't have to die. People don't have to die from a pandemic. Basically, we can just brush it off and say, if I created that, who am I seeing as a snake? Why all of a sudden, why do I have this? Okay, I'm equating people and snakes. Okay, so all I have to do is stop equating people and snakes, and then the virus just goes away. You create a sense of armor. So now, today is Thanksgiving, and not everybody in the world celebrates Thanksgiving, but in a month or so, we're going to be celebrating, it's a month from today, we're going to be celebrating Christmas, and that is celebrated by many, many more people than Thanksgiving around the world. So if you're going to get together and celebrate Christmas, let's come up with the idea of the faith of the pure ray, where we're creating our life. We're assuming responsibility for our own life, creating it. And if we have COVID, God never said I had to be sick. I'm equating people and snakes. I don't have to do that. I can change what I believe. And then that's where we start to let go of the need for vaccines and the need for expensive solutions that are so oppressive to the people. Okay, so that's all I wanted to talk about today. Is we can be thankful today as we sit around the Thanksgiving table, or next month when we all get together and there's a problem with masks. People are wondering if they're going to be able to get together because of the mandates, things like that. Okay, or being in lockdown in other places. Okay, is China causing more problems by putting people in lockdown? It seems like it's working. People tolerate it, but maybe sometimes people are going to get upset with that. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say. I ask that you like, share, and subscribe, and most of all share. And if you're sitting around the Thanksgiving table now or next month around the table for Christmas, and you're celebrating the holidays, think about what is possible, and you assume responsibility for creating your life. Okay, thank you.